All right, we be live.
Sup?
So wait, that's like we had that already.
Okay,
Oh,
so it
the
was a
tone is
very
different.
there was a variation. Yeah. They're
Okay.
similar, but they're just different enough. It's
Okay. Yeah.
context, Armin. Come on, you know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I guess that's good. Well, hi everyone. We are doing Q&As today. We have around 13 Patreon questions, which we're gonna go over. And then, if there is time at the end, we're going to post a link to the community tab for the YouTube members to come. So the way it works, if you're a patron, you get to ask questions, or you could also do super chats. We answer super chats as well. And then, if you want to come talk to us live on air, you have to be a YouTube member. So patrons get to ask questions ahead of time for us to answer. If you want to become a patron, link in the description. You could be a patron on Patreon, uh, or if you just want to talk to us directly, you could be a YouTube member. I'll post a link in the community tab for only YouTube members to see, and they could click on the link and just come up and talk to us, right? Anyways, we have a lot of election related questions and some Pakistan
Woohoo.
related questions, some Iran related questions, some weird and bizarre questions by Asian American as usual. But we'll get to all of them. All right, so let's. Speaking of, by the way, Secular, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Oh, guys, I forgot to mention. Please go follow Secular Rarity.
Thank
We
you.
don't pay this man, and he's here every week. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know why he spent so much time helping us. So the only thing we could do is just promote. Like he didn't even ask us to promote him, but like I don't, given that I don't know what his intentions are, I might as well just promote his.
Are you
So
saying that
just
you're not paying me, Armin? I've got to look at this contract again. I didn't read it apparently very well. I
Yeah.
thought I was getting quite a lot of money to be here.
Oh.
So yeah, no, I'll have my lawyer call your lawyer.
But guys, please thank Secular Rarity by going in and following his socials. All of them are in the description. Thank you very much. Okay, so
Thank
this we
you.
could do for all the time he's spending here with us. But and also, given that you would know a lot more about these questions today than me, so that's good. I'll just add some comments and questions. So Higgs boson is saying, how will the midterms impact 2024 election
Yeah,
midterm
this
results?
this this definitely is pretty big. I think um there were quite a lot of people that were projecting a much bigger win for conservative ideology as a whole, and specifically a much bigger win for the Trump MAGA kind of section of the conservatives. And they seemed to definitely not perform as well as was initially projected. So there is some hope in that in a couple of different ways, I would say. One, because of the fact that in general, these midterm elections are fairly poor showings in terms of people actually going out to vote. And we did have a good couple of states that had a noticeable jump in the amount of voter turnout. So that is good, because that could indicate that those states will have an even larger turnout when it comes to the presidential election in 2024. In the states where we saw less turnout, or pretty much the same, um, this could indicate that there is a growing blue wave in those more red states, right? Because of the fact that some of these places that were assumed to be a fairly solid Republican lock on the election, the margins were a heck of a lot closer than a lot of people were projecting. So that could indicate that the tide is kind of turning in that sense. I hope that's what it means. I would say that definitely one of the big things that came through this election was there were a lot of different ballot measures, a lot of different amendments that a lot of states voted on, and specifically the ones on abortion. I'm pretty sure there might be one that's still outstanding that we still haven't gotten results on, but I think every other one of them voted in favor of access to abortion. So that is positive. I think that's a really good sign. Um, Hopefully, it continues into 2024. So
So here's a question. I
yeah.
heard, tell me if this is correct, that this was very surprising,
Mm.
given that every time like a Democrat is in the White House, you're supposed to lose a lot of like 70, I don't know, seats and stuff to the other party and vice versa. And so, but this was a lot less. Like the historically, this is, you know,
especially with the low approval rating that Biden has right now. That is bad. And
with COVID and Afghanistan and inflation and Biden's low approval rating, how is it that this man manages to have the lowest changing of the seats in history in of to the other party? Like Biden did so good. Like how did he do so good?
And we
supposed to do horrible.
We might ultimately see the House of Representatives flip red, where the conservatives do actually have the majority. But even if that does happen, it will be a very small number. Which again is very much below what the vast majority of people were predicting on all sides of the political spectrum. This wasn't as if just a bunch of conservative, hardcore MAGA lovers were looking at data and kept going, oh, Trump's definitely going to win all his. No, I mean, like every political analyst that was out there that was watching this election, they would have said exactly where you said, which is this is unprecedented due to how all of these types of elections have gone in the nation's history, and they always have gone that way. So again,
you're supposed to lose, and they did lose, but you're supposed to lose by a lot bigger margin, right?
Much larger.
Is it possible? Is the whole MAGA movement and Trump? Could that be one reason that they lost much less? Because it seems like Trump's picks didn't do very well. And it could be like maybe this is a change finally in the Republican Party shifting away from Trump. Is that possible?
So one thing that I think was pretty interesting, and I'd need to double check where I remember reading this, but they're definitely, over the last couple of years, there has been jockeying for the top position in the GOP. And for sure there has been kind of who can out showman the other person more, and this has led to some pretty intense claims that various candidates have made, right, on the campaign trail, on stump speeches, whatever the heck it is. And I think what this has led to is ultimately a bit of a deep-rooted fracture that's going to be hard to mend entirely. So you recently had Donald Trump doing a speech where he outright made fun of DeSantis. And one of the reasons that he did that, a lot of people say, is because that was kind of a strategy that he did in 2016, where he would label his opponents with these, derogatory nicknames, and kind of make fun of them. And that would decrease their political standing, right? The issue is, when he did that, there were a lot of people that stood up fairly quickly and were like, hey, this isn't a good look. We don't want that. Like, we like Trump. We like DeSantis. The issue is they can't both be president, right? One of them's got to be the one that actually gets the ticket. And how hard will Trump go out swinging? How hard will the other candidates go out swinging? Well, that could very much be different today because of the fact that they didn't do as well in this election, specifically the candidates that were backed openly by Trump and played up to that MAGA style. Because of that, we may see a much more brutal and cutthroat Republican primary for 2024, which could result in a more fracturing of the party. This also, of course, could happen on the Democrat side, right? If Biden tries to run, does that cause division? If Biden doesn't run, does Bernie run? Does Susanna, Warren? What does that mean? But yeah, I think this election turned out a lot differently than a lot of people were expecting, and I would cautiously say that we're going to see this kind of continue into 2024.
So DeSantis is a lot more strategic and calculated
for sure.
than Trump. like with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same horrible views, but a lot more, with a lot more self-control.
Absolutely.
Like you can see, like right now, Trump is swinging stuff at him, and he's not responding. Like he's showing restraint. So he's very careful about these things. But the strategic play for him would have been to buy his time and not go after Trump, because it would damage his. Because there's a lot of MAGA people that like him, and if he goes after Trump, his brand would take a hit, right?
Yep.
But however, now after this, it might make sense for him to go after Trump. Okay?
To start swinging. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
because
Exactly.
Trump showed that, okay, your brand is less powerful than before. Your candidates didn't win, and DeSantis won by a much bigger margin than the first time he won. So he's like, okay, like I am, my brand is more getting. Okay, Trump's brand is still more powerful than DeSantis.
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
But the trend is on the downside, seems to be on the downside for Trump and on the upside for DeSantis, right?
Yeah.
And that's what, if this continues, DeSantis, and this is what Trump realizes. The reason why Trump is now going after him is because he's like warning him, stay down, stay down. I don't understand. Wouldn't the play just be like, why wouldn't you have a Trump DeSantis ticket, like just to make sure like you don't eat each other's like
because I mean, I'm not going to psychologize the man too much, but here's my very basic gut reaction. If Trump puts DeSantis on the ticket as vice, or Trump is vice to DeSantis, in either scenario, he has to humble himself. He has to admit that he needs DeSantis. He didn't want to fucking do that. He's Trump.
Right.
He wins it by himself because he's Trump. He always wins. I always win. I never lose. I'm so great at winning. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge.
This might actually. I know we're being optimistic. This might actually be bad.
Oh yeah, it could swing back the other way because it.
No. I mean, if DeSantis, like, if this is end of Trump and the beginning of DeSantis, if this how it turns out, I don't know if it will. Right? This could be worse than Trump. Like you would have somebody with as dangerous as Trump without all the negative baggage that a lot of people find unprofessional. So he would be a much more effective fascist than Trump.
And that's really the most important part is that DeSantis is actually knowledgeable enough on how the inner workings of government actually go that he could ultimately, fuck with it enough to make it a fascist state. So we've kept it off for the moment, though. I mean, we've got a couple more years at least, but after that, who knows?
What are your thoughts on this whole people raising the alarm that a lot of people are saying that, I don't know if this is like too. Do you think this is are exaggerating that the end of democracy could be coming to the United States? Like, is that like an actual threat?
Yeah, I really do think we're a bit further away from a lot of those major catastrophes. Kind of the same with like the UK. Like when the pound started falling under Liz Truss pretty hard, pretty quickly, there were a couple of people that were talking about how, they'd wake up tomorrow and London would be empty of people and devoid of food or whatever. And it's like, that's a bit much, right? But
I think that's a bit much, but it is. I see how, I mean, Republicans have actively been trying to legislate ways out, like for the voting system. I don't know the details, but the regulations behind how the voting process is done, for it to make it so that every time and all the time Republicans would win. Okay, and they are actively moving towards that direction, right? And I heard that's independent from these whole House and Senate stuff. That's state legislators that determine that, and they are becoming more and more Republican state legislators, right?
Yes.
And and they get to decide what regulations, how the voting process is done. A lot of them are being done by the people who actually denied the Trump's laws, so that's scary.
And attorneys general and secretaries of state, those two are hugely important positions.
And people are saying like, this is it, it's over. Like if he keeps going that way, at some point they will change everything in a way that Republicans win the Senate, the House, and the White House all the
Yes.
time, and that would be the end of democracy in the United States, and that would be the end of the world liberal order around the world.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
would say it
pretty
like this.
what?
I would say it like this, which is it's like when you're playing a game of chess and you can see the moves that you would need to make to, you know, put your opponent in checkmate, right? But based on what those particular moves have to be, the other side also has to make very particular moves for you to accomplish it in that way, right? So I would say that I see the path that they could take. I see the moves that they could take that would ultimately put them in a place where, yeah, essentially the democratic aspect of the United States is just null and void, because the elections would always be decided by a handful of secretaries of state or attorneys generals. But I think we're still far enough away from that actually being implemented on a level that it would change the course of the elections. So I am still a little hopeful on it, but I'm less hopeful than I was, say, 15 years ago, when I legitimately wouldn't have even entertained the question. So today I'm at a point where it's like, oh yeah, we actually need to be thinking about this. This is a serious issue. But yeah.
And this is why I am now pro-life, okay? Because it just seems to be the only thing that gets the Democrats out to vote for democracy, right? For the sake of saving.
Yeah.
So if we have to give up a little bit on women's rights just to fire up people to come out and vote, I am all for that, okay? Ban those abortions so that we could scare people. I mean,
it's like, a bold stance. You know, we'll see if it works.
I'm switching. I am switching from being very aggressively and radically pro-choice, okay, to being pro-life, okay. I mean, look at it. Look, it actually worked. It worked in these elections so far. Yeah,
It's been the last one and this one, you know, have definitely been surprising, I think, by a lot of different accounts. So yeah, again, hopefully we will see this continue. Hopefully we will. I don't know. But yeah,
I'm glad that the Republicans are at least stupid enough
yeah,
to fight against women's rights. You know, I mean, like I'm it seems like when it comes to politics and strategy, they figured it out and they're outsmarting Democrats, except this part. Like the fact that they keep insisting on saving fetuses is working very much in our favor. So keep at that, please.
And it was a 20-30 year fight. That's one thing too that I think everybody needs to remember. It was a 20-year calculated effort. So we're not going to see everything change tomorrow, you know, but what happened yesterday in the elections in the United States, that is a positive sign. And I think we should try and use that momentum as much as we can on the left. So,
yeah. Oxymoron is saying this is why I'm generally very pro-monarchy. Monarchy wouldn't save any of this thing. In fact, I would say this is why I would be more in favor of a parliamentary, like, you know, a prime minister, and that seems like more stable than all of this nonsense that we're going through in the US. All right. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, I like to sometimes make fun of you guys. Like, oh, you guys are crazy and you're, like, you know, making bad decisions. But the fact is that if you guys go down, like, unfortunately, the rest of us are going to go down with you. So
yeah, it'll be bad. Yeah,
it will be bad for the rest of the world. Yeah. God damn it.
Wouldn't be.
No. Yeah. Yeah, Christopher saying, as Armin, as a Canadian, that's what you already have. Yeah, and look, it's better. It's more stable. Yeah. But unfortunately, as a Canadian, our lives are more affected by American politics than Canadian politics. So. All right, so let's. Yes, okay. Like the whole world is affected, but like as your neighbors, like we're even more affected. All right. Dee is asking thoughts on Elon Musk's adventures on Twitter with impersonators.
You saw a bunch
What do
of people had
Yeah.
changed their name to impersonate him and change their picture and stuff, and he started banning every account
Yeah.
that was just ridiculous. I mean,
Well, technically, those were on the community standards before he showed up.
yes. I think where the issue is that was a type of action, I think, in the past was being pointed to by Elon and people like him that were arguing that the censorship on Twitter has gone too far. And they used those types of moderations in the past to argue that the platform isn't, a free speech platform, and basically, anyway, he gets into control. And
what we're talking about. So a lot of people are switching a lot of blue tick people are switching their name and profile pics to Elon Musk. I don't tweeting ridiculous stuff.
Yes, I don't know for sure that it was exclusively blue tick people. I just know that there was a wave of different Twitter people that did it. But yes, changing their name and profile on Twitter, making it look like it was coming from him, saying all kinds of absurd things.
Okay, but I think only the blue checkmark people can switch it to Elon Musk. I think if you're not blue checkmark, you are allowed to, because you're not supposed to have a specific name. Like you could have any fake profile. Yeah. And to be fair, I don't like a lot of what Elon Musk does, but let me be fair to him. Okay. He's saying that, listen, you can still change your name and profile picture to Elon Musk or anybody else you want, as long as it's clearly marked that
it's a parody.
This is a parody account, right? Yeah. And like, you keep making fun of him. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, Elon Musk's feelings are hurt and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, no, you could do that, but because the whole point of the blue check mark is for you to be like, okay, this is actually this person, right? And if so this is very interesting. So and Elon Musk's entire revenue model is selling the blue check mark now for $8, right?
Yes, $8 a month.
$8 a month. So now, if people get have the blue check mark and are changing their name, it basically is completely challenging that revenue model. Sure. So I think what the blue check mark people have realized what to do is like act like he's being sensitive about feelings being hurt, but they know that he's being sensitive about this because he's trying to protect the blue check mark, right?
Sure.
So I think it's a little bit dishonest about the blue check mark. They're like, oh, we're going to go after this thing that he has to attack.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were like, oh, look at the baby. He was proved for his speech, but now he wants to censor us because we were making fun of him. But I would suspect that if they were changing their account to any other person, not just Elon Musk, and they were like challenging the whole point of the blue check mark, I would think that they would also get censored, like removed.
Yes, and I would stand on the side of saying that truly, getting rid of those people is not problematic, in my opinion, for a couple of different reasons. I mean, one, it's Twitter's platform; they're a private entity; they get to make rules. Certain businesses tell me that I have to wear shoes if I'm inside their store. And that's just the way it is. Okay, I don't want to wear shoes. Well, too freaking bad. You either wear shoes or you don't come into the store, So there is that. The other thing I think is that the verification is very important, because yes, it should be there for especially larger public figures, so that we know that this person isn't just actually out there saying all kinds of ridiculous stuff. Doesn't mean they won't eventually. Kanye West is proof of that, but at least we have some type of way to narrow it down. But I think there's a problem with making people pay for the blue check mark. I do think that's an issue, because then at that point it feels to me that the system is more likely to be abused. Because whereas before, one would just receive a blue check mark at a certain level of notoriety on Twitter, and they would go through the process of verifying you, by contacting you through email and stuff like that. So I feel like now, if anybody can just freaking pay for it, presents a problem. But also, I think, kind of like where Stephen King was saying, people like him, he was Stephen King well before Twitter was around, and that's so super cool that all these people want to follow him on Twitter and listen to what he has to say because he's a very prolific author. But if they're going to start making him pay for it, he's just not going to do it because it doesn't freaking matter to him,
Okay, I would like take the other side. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna take Elon. I don't take Elon's side every day. Okay, like I'm not like a diehard fan of the guy. Okay, I have a lot of criticism of him. Okay, but today I'm gonna take his side. Okay, I think it's a very elitist of the other side who like, oh, like this is not special. Like we thought we were in a special club, but now you're giving it to everybody that has $8, right? I think the whole point of the blue check mark is just it's not like, oh, you're a special kind of people. The point of the blue check mark is like, this is actually a real person. We have verified that this name and picture belongs to that person, like that actually claims that this is this person, right? And you couldn't do this a lot for a lot of people, okay? Because you didn't have the manpower, the resources, the staff, right? But now if you charge for it, now you could justify going through a lot of these people and actually checking their IDs. I'm like, okay, you check, okay. And it's not just like people with like a big brand name. Now everybody, as long as like, okay, you want us to take the time and energy to check if you're actually a real person, will pay us for the time and energy that requires us for us to make this, financially viable. So I think like, yeah.
No, I think that brings up a good point for sure. I mean, I would never be in the boat of trying to say somebody is owed these services, right, or deserves these services from this company, right? It's their business, and if they want to verify you, they verify you, right? And if they want to charge you for that work, I mean, that just seems like what we do normally with business, right? I think at least in part, one of the issues is because of the fact that Twitter's revenue model currently up to date has been one where free to use basically, but loaded with advertisements and ultimately resulting in, collecting massive amounts of data and selling it, right? Just the same as Facebook does. This is what all these social media platforms do. And I think, for me personally, at least, I would have reservations about paying for a service monthly that is already making shit tons of money off of me and everybody else by
What's that though?
mining our data.
It's losing money every year. It's
Well,
like in the red.
Yeah, but that's because but I would argue that's just the free market, right? That's just the invisible hand deciding what is a viable social media.
But that all that money that you're mentioning is not enough for the service to be financially viable.
Should we okay, let me, because I understand from the business perspective, of course, if they're in that position, they're going to do what every business does, which is change their model in a way that can make them viable. But should we, as a society, are we obligated to participate in that, right? Like if we just don't value it, if we just truly believe at the end of the day, like, hey, I'm just not going to pay for this blue check mark, Twitter, and Twitter goes bankrupt because people leave the platform or people don't pay for that or whatever it is. I mean, is that really such a bad thing? Is that not just, the market doing what the market does?
No, like, but that would just be us seeing if this product is worth the $8 or not. Sure. But I don't think there's a moral judgment either way. Like people are trying to come up with, like, instead of looking at it, describing what's happening, people are trying to come up with a judgment of like, this is, you know what I mean? I mean, like, okay, you're charging for a service. Okay, if people like it, they will pay for it and the product survives. And if it doesn't, they will move elsewhere, and maybe the whole thing will burn and crash, right? Yeah. But what is this normative claims that people are making about it? Like, oh, this is bad or this is good. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's a business decision made, and we will see. It's an interesting experiment. right?
It is.
A lot of
It
a
is.
lot of these social media platforms are based on the freemium model. Now
Mhm.
somebody is like, well, let's look at pay to play model. Let's see if it works. I'm actually very interested to see if it works. You know
I
what I
was
mean? Like,
I was gonna say I'm actually really interested too, especially because of that one objection that I brought up about the collection and sales of individual data, right? So if this does have a very large societal uptake, right? If a bunch of people really do this program and pay this price, right? Well, maybe what we start to see is other social media platforms doing something similar, resulting in more data privacy and data protection for each of us on an individual level. So yeah, this could be a really, really good thing. It could also just mean that Twitter isn't here next month. Like,
yeah.
it's
Well, actually, now that I think about it, I would rather see it work out, okay? Because then, and I would rather see other social media platforms not do this, okay? Even if it does work out, because that way we will have a diversity of products. You know what I mean? When it comes to social media,
interesting.
people are like, I don't like the pay to play model. I like the
Sure.
premium model. Like, like, okay, well, here's that. You can pick and
Sure.
choose which model you like.
And maybe it results in Twitter doing this successfully and other platforms not picking it up, and that results in newer platforms that also have this model that are just slightly different coming up and providing more options. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's very, very interesting to me. I'll be honest though, I don't think much is going to change about moderation. I don't think much is going to change, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they're still probably going to make most of the decisions that they would have made either way. I think that's one thing that
I think it's going to be almost the same community standards, but with a lighter touch.
Yes, yeah,
Just
slightly. Like,
yes.
which, okay, I mean,
Like,
sure.
yeah,
sure.
Like, I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, it's okay to be racist on this platform.
Right, right. You're just not
yeah.
allowed to just openly just type slurs,
Yeah.
which isn't different. Then nothing about that has changed. But
Yeah.
because then you just have to be on the side of arguing, like, yeah, I just think people should be allowed to say the N-word in public as many times as it's like, whoa.
No, it's just that it will be maybe even if they want to allow it, I just think like they quickly are going to notice that the environment is going to be not a place where people want to hang out.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And that alone, I think, will make them change.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go to Pakistan now. Okay. Higgs boson is saying, what are the implications of Pakistan's Army General Bajwa? Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. Retiring, and how will the new general impact Imran Khan? I think this is a question best fit for when we have Harris on and secular jihadists. But we could quickly take a look at what's going on.
Yeah, when I saw that one, I was like, oh, thank goodness there's one on the U.S. elections, because I could actually say something on that.
Both me and secular rarity don't have a good answer for this, so maybe I will move this question to secular jihadists when Harris is on as well. By the way, guys, subscribe to our secular jihadists channel. But let me just take a quick look just to see what's happening. Can Bajwa be part of the solution in ending Pakistan turmoil? Like how? Okay, Pakistan's politicians are once again knocking on the door of Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa, who is set to retire at the month end. The reason, in case Bajwa extends his tenure, it could lead to a deal between the rampaging Imran Khan and the ruling Pakistan Democratic Movement coalition led by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on holding fresh national elections. Khan wants the polls to be held ASAP to take advantage of what many perceive as his growing popularity. After being removed in a non-confidence motion, Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI party has generally swept local elections that have been held since. With the wind behind his back, especially after last week's failed assassination attempt, Khan and his ilk adherently wish to hold. Well, no, ardently wish to hold early polls. Did I pronounce that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is where General Bajwa comes in to fulfill Khan's bigger strategic goal of precipitating an internal power shift in Pakistan, where the military is subordinated to the elected leadership. Khan therefore wants Bajwa's tenure to be extended. By how much is not clear, but it is logical to assume that the extension should be linked to the next elections. Since the PTI wants early elections, Bajwa should be in the saddle till then. What do you
Okay.
think?
Okay, so I think I have at least a decent understanding what it was saying, which is that currently this general, if he does actually retire, would not have the ability to broker a deal between the current ruling party and prime minister and Imran Khan and his party. And that deal that they're trying to broker is whether or not they have elections early. So if he stays in power, if this general stays in power, it is more likely that that deal will happen for early elections versus if he retires, the likelihood of that is less. That's what I think it was saying, which is interesting because then I would argue, yeah, I would think that Imran Khan wouldn't want him to retire. I would assume that he would try to keep him in power, right? So,
Wow, look at this picture. It's crazy.
yeah.
Look at these are like people who change the destiny of a country as big as Pakistan. But look what they've been made to reduce to on the goddamn floor in the prison. Jesus Christ, man. The world is a strange place.
Oh yeah.
Such powerful forces are being humbled in such a way, humiliated in such a way.
Yeah.
World is weird. Weird. This is why I never want to be in any of these people's positions.
Oh,
Like
I know.
king, prime minister, president. No, thank
I
you.
know. I know. I
Um,
mean, yeah, I think definitely take this to Horace and talk about this on Secular Jihadist because I would love to hear more on this as well. But yeah, it definitely it would seem that you know, if this general stays in power, it's more likely that Imran Khan comes back into power. So I would imagine he would probably want to try to keep him from retiring. So
you know, do you think Khan is most supported right now? So he wants elections right now.
yeah, I mean,
It's very. Go on.
well, it's just that momentum is huge. That political
Yeah.
momentum is a big deal, and capitalizing on that is something that does make a difference at the polls. You've already got people excited, so you spur them to stay excited and get more excited and more invested. So
Yeah. Do you think Imran has?
Oh, it looked like we froze. I don't know. I might be here, but Armin is gone. Maybe. So if that's the case, I'm so sorry because it means that you guys have to listen to me until Armin gets back. But we'll try our best. I can at the very least read the patron question. I
I'm
just can't
back.
pull them. Oh, hey, good. Thank goodness. I was desperately trying to fill up time, letting people know how sorry I was.
That's okay.
Sweet.
Okay.
Sweet. Oh, it's frozen again. Oh my gosh. I do love that face though. He looks very, very happy. So we'll try. We'll try to go through what we can, folks. Oh, maybe he can at the very least put it up. So From Higgs boson, what sort of Christian nation does the American far right want? Oh, good, you're back.
Yeah, if I get disconnected, just like I'll try to highlight the questions from
yeah.
behind the
I'll
scenes.
I'll pull up my phone and just start reading them. Just
Okay.
keep going. But
All right.
so from Higgs boson, what sort of Christian nation does the American far right want? Apart from abortion ban, LGBT marriage ban, prayer/creationism in school, etc., they're not gonna bring punishment for adultery, right? Because that'll indict Trump. Yeah, I think a lot of the things that you mentioned, Higgs boson, is what they're going for. Um, the Christian nationalism is a very specific branch of evangelical Christianity. So it is not the same as the Methodists or the Baptists. It is its own kind of vein, and they are pretty hardcore in that purity culture sense. So we'd see a lot of things that are in that vein, which is exactly exactly what you mentioned, prayer creationism in school, abortion ban, ban on LGBT individuals in general. We would probably also see, something trying to step more into the prohibition side of things. I would be surprised if they wouldn't want to ultimately ban, marijuana and have more restrictions on alcohol and stuff, just because, again, it's all kind of part of that purity culture thing. It's funny to me because the biggest people that really are guilty of cancel culture are the hard far right people. If they got into power, everything would be canceled. So, but yeah, I think you encapsulated it pretty well, Higgs boson.
Actually, the main things, these are important at all, but I would think that the more devastating costs to the whole world for with Christian far right Americans coming into power is the international aspects, right?
Oh, sure.
So the protectionism, the lack of support for liberalism, like for example, the cease of supporting, like the putting a stop on supporting Ukraine, for example, that would be devastating. And similar things around the world that would require such support, that would stop. So there would be a major reduction in defending democracy and liberalism in the right way, by the way, not like the Bush kind of way, right? And and human rights, that would be reduced a lot, and also friendlier relationships and support with fascists, and people who are challenging liberalism around the world, and also, and the most important one actually, a lack of investment in green energy. That would be the most significant cost to the world if they come into power.
It's amazing the amount of disparate categories this ideology would affect so negatively. Honestly,
it's the greatest threat to the universe.
Yes,
it is like there's nothing more dangerous to this planet as we speak than the GOP. And I'm like, and I do have in mind the CCP right now, and the BJP, okay, and everything, and the Islamic Republic of Iran, all of those horrible forces, okay. The GOP is the greatest threat to the planet. So you Americans, you have a duty, okay, to save the rest of us. Okay, we don't have power. You Americans who can vote, okay, the fate of the planet is in your hands. Okay, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay,
right.
And your votes give you certain powers, right, that other citizens of other countries don't have. Okay, our fate is tied to your country, and you are our saviors.
I'm just letting you know, Armin, if I'm going to take on that responsibility, we're definitely going to have to renegotiate that contract, We're definitely going to be talking. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. Seriously, the ramifications for the United States going that route will be devastating worldwide, and they will last for a very long time. So, again, I'm a little bit more hopeful. I'm a little bit more hopeful after last night. than I was for kind of the weeks leading up to it, but
Yeah.
we have to see how the momentum stays, grows, or decreases. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely something that's not going away. It should not be something that people in the United States take lightly and think, oh no, that'll never happen. That's how fascism has always taken over countries. So let's
Yeah.
just not let that happen, guys.
Yeah. Wait, wasn't it the what is it called? The Weimar Republic?
Voted it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it was the most progressive
Yes.
country in Europe at that time.
Yeah.
Like you would be before the Nazis came and took over.
Yeah.
Like if you lived back then, look at what Germany was like. You were like
One of the-
fascist.
One of the best places to live in terms of human rights worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you would have never guessed fascism to take over
Nope.
Germany like it
Nope.
did, right?
Then they put up some laws and they voted it in, and they said,
Yeah.
hey, this sounds great. And then, didn't turn out so great. So
Yeah. So if you think like if you're an American and we're like, hey, fascism is knocking on your door, we're like, here, of course not. What are you talking about? Like it's impossible. Just remember that other people thought the same.
They also felt that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yikes. Okay. Next question. D is asking, the Committee to Protect Journalists, CJP, recently released the names of 61 journalists and bloggers arrested in Iran since the protest started.
Wow.
One photojournalist arrested, Yalda Mohajiri, said that the prisoners in her overcrowded detention facility were fed tranquilizers. Have you heard of this?
Jeez.
I have the article here. We could read it. Yeah. By the way, imagine like a photojournalist. Like she doesn't even have opinions. Like she's not even writing. She just like posting pictures of stuff that are happening. You get arrested for pictures. Like how could that be illegal? That's crazy.
Shows how scared the Iranian regime is. Shows how terrified they are of these protests and these people. So I mean, it doesn't make what they're doing better. It's still atrocious, but
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a quick... I don't want to read this entire thing. I'm just going to read a few paragraphs. Yeah. Names of journalists arrested in Iran's anti-state protest. Wow. CPG has documented the names of journalists arrested in Iran amid protests over the death. I know all of this. I just want to see the tranquilizer part. Nothing is for certain, but if I would bet on her telling the truth. That's what I would bet on, like because I can know for sure. But let me see the Yalda part. Okay, writing on Instagram stories from a van writing on Instagram stories from a van taking her to jail. Mohajiri said she was beaten and arrested on September 19th while covering protests on Hijab Street in downtown Tehran, according to the XL news website. Iran Wire. Mohajiri said conditions in Karachak prison, a female-only detention facility in the city of Varamin, southeast of Tehran, were horrible, with more than 100 women crammed into a tight space. There are only 3 bathrooms for their use, and prison authorities prescribe many tranquilizers for the prisoners, she said. Tranquilizers. Like maybe that's because they don't have enough manpower to keep them all secure. So they're like, if we give them tranquilizers, we could just maintain control. Control with much less resources.
That's what I'm thinking. Crazy. If we just drug them up, we just won't have to deal with them as much. That's crazy. And obviously they're not particularly concerned about, the prescription itself and having, other side effects or anything, right? I highly doubt the Iranian regime is like oh gosh, is 25 milligrams too much for this person? Like, oh, do you have an allergy to these added ingredients? I doubt that they give a crap about that. So
No, actually, like, just to give you how little they care, just a few days ago, they shot somebody and the guy was bleeding in the street, and and medics were trying to come and like stop the guy from bleeding, and the guards were like actively stopping the medics from coming, and the guy was like bleeding in the street, and everybody wanted to come and stop the bleeding, and he was just bleeding there, and they were like stopping the medics from. I don't understand, why would you stop people like from coming to do their like job, right? And the guy just bled there to death.
Wow.
And like, it was, the thing is not like they were actively trying to make the guy like bleed to death. Like, it wasn't like just incompetence. That was like actually, yeah.
Right. They wanted to go through the extra effort of being cruel and horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I should send you a video that I can't show. I sent it to Susanna, and it broke her. There was like a lineup of people. Like, there was this guy on the ground, and there was like a lineup of police or armed forces coming up and beating him with baton. And they're like, they will go past, and the next guy would come and beat him. They wanted their turn. Like, it wasn't like somebody ordered it to beat. Like, everybody was like, I need to beat him too, okay? And the lineup would never end. The guy was just there, and the next guy would come. And then in the lineup, one of them, like, instead of beating him, ran over him with a motorcycle. Even the guy was dead, like almost unconscious there. And then the next guy, like, it never ended. And then finally, one guy came and he wanted to beat him, and his friend like, no, go away, and like moved him away, and then he shot him point blank with a shotgun. Jesus. Okay, and the guy still, like, the guy lost like a lot of flesh from his face, but he still survived. I'll send you the video. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen, because it's not like oh, one bad apple or something. No. It's just like, it shows such a normalization of brutality, and it also shows like how much psychological twisted these people are, because it was with enthusiasm. It wasn't like, oh, this is where it was worse than Nazis. Like, I'm telling you, because Nazis were like, oh, we're just following orders. These people were eagerly trying to hit this guy. Yeah, it was bizarre.
Yeah, like, and hopefully this is not something that just disappears from the international memory banks, right? Because those types of people need to be held accountable. They need to be arrested, and they need to stand trial, and they need to, they need to be held accountable for this. It's just outright just atrocious, Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's just crazy. But again, I'm still, I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful for Iran right now. I really am. So hopefully it keeps going in a good direction.
I hope so. We'll see. We got a super chat. Let me wait for it to show up on StreamYard. Wow, big super chat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. $20 from Secular Sakai. That's a very generous super chat. Secular Sakai is saying Turkmenistan is one of the most politically isolated Islamic and Turkic countries in the world, as well as a dictatorship. What message would you send to atheists living there in case they ever hear your words? I would be surprised if there are any atheists, honestly, in Turkey.
There's probably one.
There's one guy. It's just like, it's one of the most bizarre countries in the world. Have you seen documentaries about Turkey?
Yes. There are some very odd things about this particular country. I think my favorite though was the ceremony where the dictator like holds this golden staff like above his head, and then like puts it back down, and then like puts it above his head again. He does this like 5 times for like all the political ministers. It's very bizarre. It is. I agree. I would say honestly, for anybody that is in that situation, stay safe. That's one of the most important things.
I don't think they can hear you. They don't have any connections.
I don't think so either. But Secular Sakai gave the money, so I'm doing the answering the question at least. So, but yes, it is a strange country. But yeah, if you're there and you're an atheist, or you're not a fan of the government, just stay safe, I think is one of the first things. So
It's guys, like if you watch the documentaries on Turkmenistan, you would be weirded out. It's like it seems like a parody of a dictatorship country. Like you were like, that's not real. That's like is that the Onion I'm reading? Like, but it's like weird.
No, it's.
But let me actually see. Yeah, say the Constitution. So this is about Turkmenistan. It says the Constitution provides for freedom of religion and does not establish a state religion. However, in practice, the government imposes legal restrictions on all forms of religious expression. All groups must register in order to gain legal status. Unregistered religious activity is illegal and may be punished by by administrative fines. While the 1996 law on religion and subsequent 1999 amendment had effectively restricted registrations to only two largest groups, Sunni Muslim and Russian Orthodox, and criminalized unregistered religious activity, presidential decrees issued in 2000 dramatically reduced the numerical thresholds for registration and abolished criminal penalties. Okay. For unregistered religious activity, civil penalties remain. As a result, 9 minority religious groups were able to register, and the Turkmenistan government has permitted some other groups to meet quietly with reduced scrutiny. Wait, doesn't Turkmenistan have like a lot of gas?
I think they have some oil. Yeah. I'd be surprised if they don't.
I think.
Yeah, maybe natural gas.
Yeah, so they're going to be a big player going forward in the energy market. Turkmenistan possesses the world's 5th largest reserves of natural gas. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and I think like they're going to try to build a pipeline through the Caspian Sea to Europe, because like this whole Russia situation has made Europe so thirsty for gas.
Oh,
so
would they go? Do you think they'd go through Turkey?
Yes,
go through Turkey.
Yes, so it's going to be a significant player.
Oh,
especially because the Turks are trying to create a pan-Turkic unity between themselves, Azerbaijan, and all the Turkey countries on the east of the Caspian Sea. So that would be amazing. Turkey would have a major. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It will cause unity and go through Azerbaijan. Oh yeah, go from Turkmenistan to Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Europe. Like that would make the whole Turkey. The Turks have a very powerful say on the energy market in Europe.
The next 20 years could be very interesting geopolitically. Man, yes. I was really hoping for a break, but I guess not.
Yeah, and it also shows the competition, the Turkish-Russian competition on the gas and the energy market, right?
Yeah.
It also is very scary for Iran, for all these Turks right above its northern borders to unite with each other and challenge its border integrity, because there's a lot of Turks in north of Iran as well, and they some of them, not all of them, very few of them, want independence, and you could really try to poke at Iran by motivating those movements to challenge the border integrity. So that's a big deal.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. So actually, when it comes to like going back to the question, more all this gas and all of a sudden people wanting more gas might increase economic prosperity enough in Turkmenistan for eventually, because to be fair, capitalism leads to more long term, not short term. Okay. Capitalism likes democracy, okay, and likes freedoms. So if more if there's a boost in finances in Turkey, not always, okay, but if there's a more financial activity in Turkmenistan, it might lead to more civil rights and freedoms for people living there, and then we might have like more internet there, and we can hear more from people, atheists over there. So that might actually long-term help them. We'll see.
So then, Armin, what is your message beforehand? We can go ahead and prophesy that this will happen. We'll see this great change, and there will be some Turkmenistan atheists in the future. What is your message for those future atheists to join Atheist Republic? How do we get them on our side?
So go ahead and search for Atheist Republic consulates, okay? And contact us about making our first Atheist Republic consulate in Turkmenistan. You could be the founder of that consulate. So for you guys who don't know, Atheist Republic has consulates for atheists to meet all around the world. We don't have yet one in Turkmenistan, but we could change that. But there's an application form there where you could contact us, and we will get on that, right? By the way, guys, we do have, like, if you guys want to meet local atheists around where you live, just search for Atheist Republic consulates and find one, or start a consulate near where you live. Yeah.
We also have really, really sexy artwork. I'm not saying it's the only reason you should come hang out with us, future Turkmenistan atheists, but we do have that as well. So, you know.
Well, don't scare them. They're slowly. They might be like, okay, this is why I'm going back to this. This is why you need Islam. like Jesus. All right, this is too much. These atheists. Man.
Yeah.
Oxymoron is saying Atheist Republic got to be recognized as a nation of its own. I'm working on it. I think, like, I've given, like, people say, I'm thinking of a metaverse maybe one day. You know what I mean? Atheist Republic metaverse.
The land in the metaverse has been going fairly quick, apparently.
People not on any of the. No, but I'm thinking of not like going into, I don't know, what is it called? Sandland, and what, there are a couple of ones.
Yeah, Sandbox or whatever.
Sandbox, or there's a couple of metaverses out there that people are buying stuff in.
Yeah.
What is it called? I forgot the other ones. But I think, like, making one from scratch, not going on someone else's, because it's kind of like building your house on someone else's land, kind of like, Facebook. I'm thinking of, like, just building a metaverse from scratch. I don't know. We'll see.
That'd be. Yeah. We're gonna need some more patrons and some more YouTube members to make this possible. So if you want to see Atheist Republic with its own country in the metaverse, you know what you need to do: subscribe and become a patron. So easy.
Yes. Or use super chats like Secular Society.
Yeah, that also works. Or just, I don't know, just put a bunch of money in an envelope and send it over, I guess. I mean, any of those work.
Okay, so let's do another US question. Higgs Boson is asking, why is Islam popular in prisons in US?
That's a very interesting question, and I would love to see if there is some actual, like, data on this. I know that Islam has been growing in prisons in the United States. I think in part due to a concerted effort by individuals, by various scholars, sheikhs, mullahs, converted individuals. I think that has been one issue. I also think there is a racial component to it. So in the United States, if anybody's not aware, our prisons are overwhelmingly Black. And I think that is a target group for a lot of Islamic movements in the United States. I think they know that is a group that they often receive more positive feedback from. So I think that's definitely a big part of it. But I'd love to see somebody actually, like, do some study on this and get some data to back that up. So
I think racializing Islam, in the US brand of Islam, has been a very, very clever meme strategy. Okay.
Oh, sure.
Because historically, that's how religions operated. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's only Islam and Christianity that have successfully divorced religion from ethnicity. Okay. Yep. Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, all the ancient other religions were certain gods telling certain people that you be special, okay? You are unique and better than other people, okay? Islam and Christianity did away with that in an attempt of making global ideologies, because they had expansionist desires and goals, right? And wanted to create empires, global empires, right? So they
Yeah.
could not remain ethnic while doing that, right? Because the door had to be more open.
Right.
But obviously, that appeal of telling people that they're special, which is a very powerful tool, because of their sensitivity, because people be tribal and racist, right? That was, even though that's very powerful, that weapon was given away. That was an expense, but
Mm.
something much bigger was gained, even though that was given away. But now that you have like localized brands of Islam in a country like United States, reintroducing that weapon
Mm.
in the meme is a very effective, um, a very effective propaganda tool, or
Mm-hmm.
like a marketing tool, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so telling, and again, black people in America are very isolated, discriminated against, and made to
Mm-hmm.
feel inferior, and because of the poverty, a lot more criminal activity, and a lot of people have, because of that inferiority complex. So if somebody uses Islam to come and tell them that they are special
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way, and it's not just Islam, by the way, you have like also another Judaism also, with the black Hebrew Israelites. So you can see
Yes.
like both
Yes.
Islam has been rebranded and racialized in a way to tell black people that they're special, and Judaism also, even though Judaism has always remained, has always been racialized, they have managed to change the racialization of
Mm-hmm.
who's the special people
Mm-hmm.
of Judaism, with the black Hebrew Israelites, to like, no, you are the special people. But the
Yeah.
idea of people who are see themselves as fallen behind, as them being, as having inferiority complex, an ideology coming at telling them not only you're not inferior, you're actually superior, that
Mm-hmm.
is very tempting for that group of people to accept. In fact, other religions have been successful in gaining power, especially through that, like exactly through that. Like Jews who were told that you're special people back in ancient history, it was because
Yeah.
they liked that, because they were actually, you know they weren't slaves like in Egypt, but in Israel itself they were like the servants. They were
Right.
like the lower class, right? Islam came and told, um the Arabs that were impoverished, that they're like, oh, you guys, we're all equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we accept Islam, right? And like Islam in India came out to the lower caste people and outcast people, told them like, if you accept Islam, you would be the same as every other Muslim. So that was very appealing as well. Christianity as well, like, they all go to the lowest caste or the lowest class and tell them that they're either equal to everybody else or superior to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And people who have been, their identity has been taking a hit, are very tempted to accept that. So I think like maybe it's not a causation, it's just a correlation between,
Yeah.
in prison, between the people who are the criminals and the people who are likely to accept it. So
I would
maybe the
agree.
correlation, yeah,
I would
it's not the
agree. It's
cause.
more correlation than causation. But yeah, I mean, exactly where you were ending right there is the where my next point was, which is when you're part of a group in any particular environment where you are more demonized or discriminated against, when an ideology comes out that basically says just by even participating in this ideology, you can kind of fight back against that system that oppressed you. That is something that people will take up, and that is why I think you do see a lot of black converts to um, obviously black Hebrew Israelites, but also Islam. So yeah, I think there's a handful of different things, but plus also there is a history too, right? I mean, the Nation of Islam, right, in the United States, there is a history that goes back a couple of decades. So, but yeah, I think that's probably why. But if anybody knows of any good sources, like a 10-year study or anything, that would be super cool to read, because
Yeah.
I bet it would be very, very interesting. So.
Asian American with the most helpful comments and responses, saying, "Are those people really special if they don't ride dragons?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a getting to the most important issues, in the most succinct ways. That's our
Yes.
Asian American. We
Yeah. I mean, based on this theory, by the way, the only races that are superior would be Tigerian and Valerian.
wow,
Yeah.
man, that puts a whole new spin on Game of
Yeah.
Thrones now. Wow.
By the way, I don't understand how Valerians could also dragons respond to them, given that they are more a house based on ships and all. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Ship, dragon, they're practically the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that was we responded to that one. Let's go through these a little faster because we need to have some time for members as well. Here. Oh, this is a specific question for you. So you want to read it?
Yeah. From Asian American, secular rarity. How do you feel knowing that you just helped Tennessee end slavery as a punishment in the year of your Lord 2022? Well, the first thing I want to say is you're making some assumptions there, Asian American. You don't know that I'm anti-slavery. Like I technically haven't made that. No, I'm joking. Yeah, obviously, I was excited for this on the ballot. This was a good measure. This is something that practically all of the other states in the country have done. And so it was good that we finally did do this. I think it passed by like 70
So
some
tell
odd
people what
percent.
this is about. Like
Yeah.
Tennessee
So
haven't
literally,
yet. Yeah.
yeah, literally in the state constitution, the way that it was worded essentially still allowed for slavery. And while in practice, we maybe weren't enslaving people, literally the actual laws still said we could. So by changing this particular wording when it relates to incarceration and involuntary servitude for individuals because of a crime that they committed or something, this update does officially finally actually outlaw slavery, which is a weird thing, to have fallen. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'll take the congratulations and I'll pour the champagne, but it's a weird feeling at this party. So it's like, oh my gosh, we just did this. That seems wrong. So
All right, next question. Asian American, how many unelected prime ministers must UK go through? Would you say they have blacklisted in blacklisted in democracy? I mean, technically, that's not. You don't through a parliamentary system where you have a prime minister.
You don't vote for the prime minister.
You don't need to vote for the prime minister. You already voted for. This is not a blacksliding in democracy. You already voted for the members of parliament, and your party can pick this prime minister as it chooses to, as it sees fit. They could just go on.
I was just gonna say, I believe there is, while elections can be called early by the party ruling party, I think there still is a schedule. There still is a schedule that says elections have to happen after so many years. So if the party in power changes the prime minister 6 times and then the voters don't like it, I mean, they just get to go vote in the next election, right? So
this is just a within party agreement on how we're going to pick the leader of the party. Okay, it's like it's party's business. The democratic part was you electing the members of that party for that party to have the highest number of seats. So that was the democratic part. This is like, I think a lot of people are influenced by countries where they voted for the head of state and the head of the government are the same, and they literally people vote that person directly into power, and they're like, okay, we need to do that with our prime minister. That's not how prime ministers are supposed to work. Okay, it's not undemocratic for them to do that. Like, they just like, how do we, like, they could decide like, hey, we're just gonna cut off a chicken's head and just see where it lands, and that's how we pick our they just decided they just decided like, okay, we're gonna use elections to vote. vote
We're
for our
gonna
party
have
members?
our party members sitting in parliament vote. That's what we're
Yeah,
gonna do. Yeah.
yeah. They could do any other system that they want. Okay, and I'm assuming it was a smart decision for them not to do that because they realized that they're causing a lot of uh, drift within the party. Like
Mhm.
so they needed the conservatives right now need a lot of party unity, and given that they had so many internal conflicts, it was pretty good decision for them. Like, okay, guys, let's just stop. Let's just stop.
Mhm.
Okay, I
Mhm.
think made sense for them to do that, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Sunak lasts longer than a month and a half. So that's gonna be the test.
Yeah. Hey, I agree with Oxymoron. Oxymoron is saying presidential democracies are more likely to turn fascist. That's exactly why I'm more in favor of prime ministers and stuff. Doorknob says picking leaders. What? Oh, any, mini, miny, moo. Okay. Yes, yes, that's a good way to
True.
do it. Actually, that might be the most superior way to do it. Let's try it. Why not? Okay. Let's go to this one. Okay, Gaging American is asking, what are pay transparency laws pro or anti-capitalist?
I
What does that mean?
believe what this is referring to, like, whenever a job lists its whenever a job lists how much they're offering for the pay rate, right? That has to be something that is transparent in the sense that also they
Oh,
are
yes, yes.
transparent about what other people are making in the company at those same positions. So basically, pay transparency would result in more or less everybody knowing what everybody is making at various jobs. What a lot of people argue that are in favor of them is that it would result in a better wage for the majority of people because they would be able to actually leverage and say, hey, look, you're paying this person, an extra $50,000 a year, and we do the exact same thing. Like, and actually I do better, so you should pay me more. So there is that argument. I think on the other side, one of the big arguments for sure is, should we force a company to do that? That does kind of take some of the leverage away from a company's side, because one of the points of a business is to be able to acquire the materials or provide the services in such a way where it costs you the least amount of money so you can make the largest profit. So, and I think
given.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go on. You go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think there's also like the argument of like privacy, like it's my money and I don't want to tell people how much I make type stuff too. So I think that
I would need to look at studies and stuff, but if I had to guess, I would say given that it gives right now negotiation power is more at the hands of the employer than the employee, right?
Yeah.
So anything that spreads the negotiation power
Yeah.
more evenly is good for competition, and because it improves competition and gives a lot more negotiating power it puts it more negotiating power in the hands of the employee. I would say that I would guess that it enhances capitalism because capitalism thrives with more fair and better competition. So if I had to guess, which I have no idea, I would say this would be a good thing. But I think we shouldn't be ideological about these things. We should just look at what
Right.
studies show.
Right. I would probably fall on the same. I would imagine, just based on like a lot of other things, one of the things, so you can't really have a free market if people are allowed to just openly lie about their products on a regular basis, right? And harm a bunch of people. There has to be some type of, way to make sure that people aren't just out there saying, this water will cure cancer or whatever, right? So with that, I would assume that this would probably result in, ultimately a better, better for the worker initially, a little bit less good for the business right up in the short term, but in the long term, the businesses would be able to acquire better talent, better individuals, and be able to have better benefits for them because businesses would have to compete for who's offering better benefits, right? Because now everybody knows how much we're getting paid. Well, what else do you offer, right? Do you offer healthcare? Do you offer days off? Do you offer a sign-on bonus? So yeah, I think in the short term, this would crunch the businesses a bit more, but I think in the long term, this would be valuable for everybody.
Okay, more fun and weird questions by
Yeah.
Gage American.
Yeah.
What the hell? All right. A scientist creates photosynthetic humans blastocysts in a lab. Oh, okay. Is that okay? So, in a lab sustained by an artificial womb. A closed system powered by nuclear fusion. What? Would that's you had? I thought I was like it was possible until you hit the two nuclear fusion. That's like impossible. Okay. Would their destruction be property damage, murder, or genocide? I don't even understand. I thought I understand this question, but then it got very confusing. Do you understand? Let me see what the explanation is. They intend to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in the case of the first photosynthetic humans.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So in a scenario where somehow we have created a human blastocyst, right? So it's that stage where all of the cells now have divided a whole bunch. There's like 100 cells, I want to say ish. And they're all that new human DNA. But not only that, but this is also somehow we have genetically engineered this in a way where it does photosynthesis in a completely self-sustained artificial womb. Would that destruction be considered property damage, murder, or genocide? I would say probably not on the genocide. I think that's definitely a bit of a stretch. I think you'd have to have more than one.
Why do you need nuclear fusion? First of all, nuclear fusion. You don't have a freaking power plant in a womb. That doesn't make any sense. Also, when you have photosynthesis, you already have a source of energy. Why do you add nuclear fusion on top of that? Right. Also, how much energy do you think a human body needs? Like, you're not like the guy is. A human body is not like a rocket that needs to like shoot itself to the goddamn moon. It just needs to walk and run and talk. Nuclear fusion.
Like supercharge the baby. Yeah, I don't know, probably property damage, I guess, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think it would be okay. It would be murder, not property damage, not genocide. Murder, yes, okay. But this brings me to another interesting point. I always thought, like watching Game of Thrones, that I don't see these dragons eating that much, okay? And I'm like, how do they feed these dragons? Like, they literally have to eat, like, based on the energy they spend, they literally have to eat, like, at least 2 horses a day or something, right? But then I was thinking, like, where did they get the energy for all that fire? Like, there's no way you have enough ATPs in a dragon to produce enough energy to fire, like, you need to be eating 100, well, actually a lot more, a lot more horses every day to be able to produce that level of energy that could literally take out a city, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, like, the only way that level of energy is explained is through magic. But magic doesn't create energy. Magic transfers energy. So I was thinking, like, maybe they just open portals in their throat through other places, like open portals through, like, I don't know, in the middle of the sun or something.
That's a good thought. Have you ever heard that dragons eat like gold and treasure? Have you ever heard that like that's why they sit on like a pile of treasure and they hoard treasure?
That's nonsense. No, they just like shiny stuff.
Well, but hang on, I'm just saying, if that's true, Armin, okay, if they have that, they could do reverse alchemy in their stomachs, right? Instead of trying to turn lead into gold, right, they could turn the gold into lead, and maybe that kind of, that transfer of energy, that breaking apart of the atoms is what gives them that, so it's
wouldn't it be more simple magic if they just, like, somewhere that there's already fire. They just opened it to that place.
I don't know. I don't know how magic works, man. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like your idea. I feel like I don't know. I imagine like,
I think if they eat gold, it's just because they just like
Just
some of them
bored?
have cycle. No, they just like gold so much that they just fetishize it, and they just don't know. Like they're like next to it, and they're like, "What else do I do? Like I need to consume this," and they just like go so crazy that they end up eating it. Like I don't think it serves any purpose. I just think like they're just having. I think they fuck it as well, maybe because they don't know what else to do. They just come over their gold. Do dragons have come?
I would assume so. I mean,
Okay.
I guess they've got. How else would they stay
I
alive?
wouldn't be
They
surprised if I
probably-
go to a dragon's den and I just like all of a sudden see the dragon humping the gold. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would be like, yeah,
like one of those old like fairy tale stories where the knight goes on a quest to like slay the dragon, and he walks into the cave and the dragon's like having sex with all his gold, and he's like, "Whoa, I'm sorry, man. No, I'll just come back another time. My bad."
Oh, we
It
should
really-
make that.
Yeah. I'm for it, man.
By the way, I saw my two girls humping each other last night. My dogs,
Puppies.
both of them. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
both
dominant
girls.
thing. It's a behavioral thing that dogs do with each other for whatever reason.
Like from behind, I was like,
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I was like, "Are you really a girl?" Like I was checking for balls and everything, like because it was like as if, like
It's
from
a-
behind, like it was doggy style.
For
Two
some
girls.
reason, one of the behaviors that dogs have passed down generation after generation is the dog in charge of the pack humps other dogs. I have no idea why. Honestly, I'm just saying this. I wouldn't be super upset if that was the thing we as people started, like you'd walk into a room and just like hump everybody real quick and just be like, all right, well, the boss is here. We can start the meeting. That's terrible.
Wait, yeah, we should have done that. We should have been like, who's leading
got
this
the
meeting? Or like,
we got the grooming thing. So
Yeah.
if you ever watch chimps or primates, you know how they like pick at each other's back and kind of scratch their back or head or something. We got that behavior instead of the humping each other one. I mean, come on, whatever. It's fine, I guess.
Yeah. So, wife, I was humped by my boss today again.
Yeah. No. I love the. So I wanted to let you know I got that job promotion. Like, oh no way, that's awesome. It's like, yeah, I had to hump everybody in the office. Armin checking for balls.
Don't know his saying Armin checking for balls on a girl dog. Well, that image ain't gonna leave me for a long time. Okay, well, welcome. Oh, secular psychologist used his celebration of his 8-month membership to tell us Lauren Boebert, wait, where did it go? Might lose her election.
Woo!
Is that real?
Yeah, I think the last time I looked, all of the polling data wasn't in, but she was losing.
Oh my God, there's hope.
I know.
There's hope.
I know.
Gaging American saying nuclear fusion creates helium gas, allowing flight. Oh, okay. There needs to be a channel going through trying to come up with scientific explanation for all the, stuff
superheroes.
that we see. Yeah, or magic, like trying to be like, it's not magic. It's not completely like, why is everyone thinking it's magic? It's completely explainable by science. Magic is only like,
you don't know this about the quantum protonetic hada wada whoosy. Oh my gosh, it's great. It's fifth fundamental law of physics and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God, another weird question by Gaging American. God, we have to answer this. We actually have to. Do we have to? Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we do.
All right. Gage in America is saying botanically, tomato is the mature ovary of a tomato plant, and by a biological definition, a fruit. Yes, tomatoes are fruits. Okay. However, in the 1800s, tomato farmers successfully had it legally reclassified as a vegetable to avoid fruit tariffs. What is the verdict of Supreme Court Atheist Republic? Oh my God.
It's a fruit.
It's a fruit. It's a fruit.
Yeah.
It's a fruit. However, it's as healthy as is. For some weird reason, it coincidentally also health-wise like vegetables rather than fruits.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Weird.
vegetables are healthier than fruits because fruits usually have a lot more sugar in them,
Mm-hmm.
right? But for some reason, the tomato, which is the fruit that coincidentally was categorized as a vegetable, is also health-wise as good as other vegetables.
Yeah, closer to vegetable. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
honestly, it could have just been the fact. One of the reasons that the tomato didn't need to potentially create as much sweetness as other fruits was because of the ease at which the tomato breaks open and can drop its seeds, right? So if the tomato just gets rotten and falls on its own, well, it drops its seeds pretty easily, right? A rotten tomato breaks without much effort, whereas a rotten apple takes more effort. And so it may have just been that the tomato plants that could just had a thinner skin and could just drop seeds as opposed to having to worry about animals coming along. So, but yeah, it's a fruit. It's just it is. Yeah.
Okay. We have a new member. Yay! Newman041 is now a Satan's minion. Thank you so much for being a member. And Secular Sekai just gave us $2 super chat to celebrate the membership of Newman. They say new minion. Oh, hey, Newman is a new minion. Hail Atheist Satan. Oh, thank you. Wow, we get a $2 super chat to celebrate our
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Iblis. We're done with Asian American questions.
Yeah.
So those are always a challenge.
They're always.
Yeah, Newman is saying not new. I know, but we're gonna always. I think you.
Yeah, you might have missed a month or something.
Yeah, you redid it, but we will always celebrate it. Even if you reinstate it, I will keep calling it a new membership. Please don't butcher my name. I thought you accepted my pronunciation. You keep going back and forwards and tolerating my okay, no man.
No
041. Man. No man. Okay. Yeah, welcome back. Yes, welcome back. Cool. All right. So next question by this unknown person, Secularity. By the way, another reminder that not only we do not pay Secularity for all his time, he actually pays us.
That's right. that is actually true on a monthly basis.
Thank you so much, Secularity, for your support. Anyways, let's see what your question is. And let's see what Secularity has to say about this. With U.S. states now legislating reproductive rights and bodily autonomy, how do you see the general political battle, pro-life versus right to choose, changing in the short term? And do you have any predictions for how or when GOP could institute a federal abortion ban? And then here's a clarification. Like, will a future GOP White House sue states, attempt to overrule state laws with a federal law, withhold funding for non-compliant states? Will states boycott one another? Interesting.
Yeah.
It really depends on. So the GOP is like stuck between a rock and a hard place, I think, because the main thing that mobilizes their base is this saving fetus fantasy that they have, right? The campaign that they have, but also the main thing that alienates them from the rest of the Americans is the same thing, right? So they have to walk. This is a very thin line, right? How much do we move forward so that we keep our base, but in a way that we still could possibly get votes from other Americans, right? And I think they quickly will discover that they have to promise being pro-life without actually doing anything about it.
Mhm.
Because there has to be always this fight that they have, that they will never win, but they will one day promise winning. But if they actually win it, first of all, with their base, there will be much less to move forward with, because they all of a sudden are satisfied with their wins. And if they actually win it, a lot of people will be scared, and a lot of Democrats will show up and vote against them. So I think like they will quickly realize that this needs to be a fear for their base that just remains a fear. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that we've seen in the last two elections. We've seen a lack of turnout where we would have expected the conservatives to kind of capitalize on that more. I think one of the first things that we might see from a GOP White House, well, it would have to be a GOP Senate and House. It would have to be Congress, but we could definitely see withholding of funds to various states that are more pro-abortion access. That is always something that the federal government does. Whenever various states do not comply with federal policies, that's the first thing on the table, is federal funding. So that definitely could be the case. I would say most likely what we would have to be concerned with is the GOP getting Congress as well as the presidency in one election, and they would attempt to institute a federal ban. I think, because the Supreme Court has shown its hands, in my opinion, in the sense that they are ideological and they are happy to be so. John Roberts may piss and moan still about how, the court is legitimate and we have to make sure that people perceive us that way. But that's just BS, and it's been shown to be BS, because they're making contradictory rulings on essentially the exact same grounds. So the courts will be favorable to that federal ban. I think that is most likely what the GOP would do. I think what we're going to see over the next handful of election cycles, though, is actually what we have seen with these ballot measures. I think the states are going to individually codify their positions, and we're going to be in a pre-Roe versus Wade America, where you literally have one state where you cannot get an abortion at all, and the very next state over, you can get an abortion with essentially no regulations, and that's going to result in a lot of people dying, a lot of people being harmed from it. So, yeah.
Some people say this is going to turn into America breaking apart. Like it's going to be so different from state to state that it's just going to be
I
night and day.
I don't think so, and I think one of the reasons, there were a lot of people from the beginning when Roe versus Wade was decided that agreed with the decision, the ultimate conclusion, but thought that the specific legal argument that was being used was a poor argument. And so I think we will see in the next decade individual nonprofit groups that will do kind of what the conservative Christian nationalists have been doing for the last 20 years, where they set up these think tanks or they set up these legal organizations that purposefully attempt to pass laws that will get challenged, that will go to the Supreme Court. And I think that's what we'll see. And there are some better legal arguments for why access to abortion should be allowed, especially up to, around that 22-ish week mark. So I think what we'll see is individual states making their decisions and planting their flags, and we'll start to see some Supreme Court battles if we don't see one of the parties take so much control in Congress that they're just able to pass the legislation without. If either party right now got a supermajority, which meant that they literally did not need a vote from the other party to pass the law, I think it would be passed either way. I really do. but neither party has control like that, and neither party, I think, is projected to have control like that either this cycle or 2024. So it's not going to be a great time, that's for damn sure. But
right. By the way, guys, I posted the link to the for members only. If anybody wants to, I'll only give like 5 more minutes if anybody wants to come up and talk to us. But after that, we're gonna close it. Oh, we got another super chat. But before we go to the super chat, I'm just gonna mention it's just so weird to me that so much is at stake around the world over this non-issue of fetuses. Like
an issue that a lot of other countries has solved a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that like global politics, strategies on how to avoid World War III or how to stop, how to battle climate change, right?
Yeah.
It's all going to be decided on a whole bunch of idiots in America that think fetuses require protection. It's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. Yeah.
Yep. It's frustrating for sure.
Yeah. All right. So wait. So we got somebody saying, "Great question, secular rarity." Yes, I agree. And also, Noman 041 is saying, "Nice hair, secular rarity. You look like an anime
Thank
MC."
You. Oh, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take that.
All right, here's a super chat. Another $20 from Secular Sakai. Crazy generous today, Secular Sakai. Thank you so much. It's saying Andrew Yang has created a new centrist party called the Forward Party. It reportedly is not the fourth largest U.S. party is now the fourth largest party. I can't read today. It reportedly is now the fourth largest party after Libertarians and growing after 1 year. Do you think it will work or fail like the Reform Party? I think the structure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the structure of the whole system in the U.S. is made in a way for it to fail. Like,
yes,
it has close to zero chances, right?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The way that the United States Constitution was set up was essentially in such a way where there really is, in the current system, no possibility for a viable third party. With that being said, the Libertarian Party has been around for a good while. The Green Party has been around for a good while. And this party may ultimately end up existing for a good while. But one of the reasons, for instance, that you don't see the Libertarians or the Green Party candidates on stage during election debates is because the specific governmental organization, the Federal Election Commission, has a minimum threshold for amount of popularity that a candidate has to have before being on stage. And I think that amount of popularity is like 10% of the whole nation. And those candidates never receive that number. So yeah, I think ultimately it may stick around, and it may there may be a senator or two that gets elected. There are a handful of Libertarian and Green and independent candidates that have won office, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to make much of a difference. So
also, the Forward Party doesn't seem to have any stances on anything. Am I wrong about that?
I would humble myself and just say I definitely would have to do more researching, but from what I have seen, yeah, a lot of their stuff seems to be less about, hey, here's kind of what we think, and more kind of that, nice flowery ideological message of like, how do we compromise and like work together and stuff, which is a good message. Like, I'm not disagreeing with the message. I'm just saying that it doesn't tell me what you're going to do if you win. So
it's just like the candidates, the people they have, they're like ideologically not completely in contradiction to each other. And when you ask them what they're going to do about this thing, they were like, we will do the right thing.
Right.
Like, what are you about this? Like, we will make the right decisions on this one.
Right.
We will neither do the left-leaning positions or the right-leaning positions. We will do the right things. They're like, okay, what are the right things? And like
Yeah,
the right
yeah,
things
yeah.
are the things we are going to do. We
We're
will not be ideological, and we
mhm.
will make the correct decisions. They're like, okay, what are the correct decisions? What's your position? It's like, whatever the correct positions are, we will figure it out.
Mhm,
I'm like,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I need to know where you stand before I
Uh-huh,
decide if I want to support you. Like,
uh-huh.
okay, like,
Yeah. It's like at
yeah.
that point, it's like, okay, we'll just make this super easy. Are you for or against slavery? Like, yes or no? It's like, well,
Yeah.
we're for the right,
Yeah.
the right decision. And it's like, well,
Nope.
fuck.
But here's the thing. That's actually what they do. The things that are obvious like that, they will give you an answer. But
Yeah,
as soon as it gets to a position
the nuance.
where like left leanings and right leaning people decide or disagree with, they won't give you an answer because they want both. And
Mhm.
like we can see what you're doing. You want to be like, oh, are you tired of politicians? Well, join us because we won't scare you by giving you answers.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will
yeah.
we will not give you an excuse to hate us because you don't know what we stand for.
Are you tired of politicians promising a bunch and then never delivering? Well, join the Forward Party. We won't promise shit, but we also won't do anything.
That's great.
Terrible. Terrible.
Oh my god.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, so we have a new. Oh yeah, we were talking about war. Yeah, this is a good name for the whole war of the fetuses. Here's a new patron question that was submitted last minute. Thank you for Oxymoron in the live chat for letting me know that the new question was added, because I'm not refreshing the page all the time. So Oxymoron is asking opinions about grammatical gendericide and one single pronoun. I have no idea what this is about. Do you know what this is about?
So I typed in the word gendericide without the O and just gendercide. We do get the definition that says gendercide is the systematic killing of members of a specific gender. So okay.
But
All right.
I think this is just in language.
Yeah, that's what I
Like
think.
grammar.
That's what I think oxymoron is talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean
This for me is something that I think is not really that big of a deal in general. Like when like somebody came up to me one day and years ago and they said we shouldn't use the term policeman or policewoman. And I go, oh really? No, it's a real word, oxymoron, gendercide. You just literally look it up
Oh,
on
you
Google.
accidentally came up with a word
Yeah,
that exists, like
yeah,
Samara.
it is real. It's there's even a website at gendercide.org. So there's a book. I know it's amazing. But but I think with some things there's really no issue, with changing it to something that's gender neutral. Police officer is just as easy to say as policewoman, policeman. It doesn't add anything. It's not complex. It's not difficult for anybody. I would also just say in general, like language changes. That's kind of the whole point of it, right? And if the majority of people enjoy this change and like this change, then the dictionary just writes down what people are doing with the words, right? It's not like they're prescribing how the word should be used. So when enough people started using the word literally in a sense that meant figuratively, they just wrote it in the damn dictionary, and so now you can use it as either. So, I mean, I don't have
literally means figuratively.
Yes, quite literally. Yes,
Yeah.
not a metaphor. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I get a little. I'll be honest. I get a little bent out of shape when we talk about like actor actress versus male actor female actor, just because the whole point of that suffix is to denote gender, but at the same time I don't think it's that big of a deal. And at the end of the day I think we'll all still probably make it just fine. And
I my mother tongue doesn't have any of this male female stuff. This is
it's
why you
not
see it.
gendered.
Oh no, not at all. Like it's
That's
confused. That's why it's
fascinating.
yeah. Like he and she is both like the same thing in Persian.
Oh, that's
In
interesting.
Arabic, it's female and female. That's why it's
Yeah.
a little bit challenging to learn Arabic or English for a lot of like Persian speaking. Like why, like especially Arabic, like or French, but like they don't just have male and female pronouns. They have like
Oh, everything's
every
gendered.
goddamn everything is gendered.
Yeah.
Like the goddamn pen is gendered,
Yeah.
the sun
Yep.
and the moon are gendered, ships are
Yep.
gendered, cars are gendered. Like why? And I don't like. And I think like it makes sense maybe historically why people were obsessed with gender. Like it seems like everything is divided in two. But I think like it made sense for us to be less obsessed with gender as
Mhm.
as we progress. It became less of an important, like not as important. Like it is still
Yeah.
important. I'm like, don't get me wrong, but like policeman or woman, like how important is it now that if
Right.
the police officer is a man or a woman? Like, do
Right.
we really need to
Right.
know it's a man or a woman?
Is it
Right?
that big of a
Like
deal? Right.
he or she, like like why is gender, like why are we dividing people on these lines? Like again, I'm not saying it's not that important. It's still heavily divided into two, but as it becomes, I mean, we know it's not that big of a deal given that languages like Persian have survived for thousands of years without separating people
Right.
along these, like people are like, no, if you remove like gendered pronouns, it means like you're denying how big of a fact this is in society. Like, okay, Persian language managed to do without this and for thousands of years, and it
Yep.
had no problem.
Yep.
So it can't be that big of a deal. So
No.
yeah.
No. Yeah. And again, while it is odd for me just being a native English speaker, because if you ask somebody, that's a native French speaker, native Italian, Spanish, definitely a lot of the Romance languages, but a lot of languages do have that gendered aspect to just everyday objects, and so for me, like that's different, for sure, because that's not how I see stuff. When I think of water bottle, it doesn't have anything on the end that denotes it being masculine or feminine, right? I don't have to conjugate in any other way, add any extra work to it. I'm all for making things as neutrally gendered as possible, because I just feel like that's the way that's super inclusive. And then when talking about a specific individual, use the gender that they identify with. That seems easy to me, right? If you don't know, you use gender neutral language, right? And then when the person comes up and says, hey, I'm a woman, or hey, I'm a man, then you just use that. Like, cool, easy, but I don't know.
Yeah. Zagros gave us a $2 super chat saying many of those gender titles came from French. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. By the way, I remember, let's end this here. I remember I had a fight with my cousin. She was, when I was a kid, like really young, like I think maybe under 5 years old. Okay. And she was arguing that the sun is a man and the moon is a woman. And I was arguing for the opposite. Right. And her argument for why the sun was a man was because the sun is out in the day. So the sun is working all the time during the day.
Interesting.
And the moon is like, I don't know what the moon is doing at night. It's just out like when the husband comes at night, that's when the woman is active because she's serving food for the husband or stuff. So she thought because the moon is active at night and the sun is active during the day, that makes the sun the man and the moon the woman. And I, as a boy, was arguing, obviously the sun is a woman because she's more glamorous and
the beauty of it. Interesting.
The beauty, and I was like, obviously the sun is the woman. And I remember when we started learning Arabic in school, I contacted my cousin. I was like, I told you, the sun is the woman and the moon is the man.
You see, Allah has laid this down for us. It is clear. It is right here. That's so funny. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. And I guess the way that I would come to that is I would go the opposite way. I would think about it from the moon's perspective, because oftentimes when it's English, you get the Latin root of it, which is feminine. So the Luna, right? So you get that feminine aspect to the moon. And so I think because of that history that I have, I would have said, oh, the moon is female, therefore the sun is male. yeah, I just think that's fascinating what we have various cultures and languages has decided to, why is a bed male or female? Why does that have any gender to it? Why does a pen have any gender to it? It doesn't make any sense, but it's really interesting. I mean,
yeah, it just shows how the human centric perspective of the world made us try to explain everything we see through
we had to
gender.
apply everything to us. It's like, oh, that pen wants to fuck. Like it totally wants to, man.
That pen totally wants to fuck my kettle.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I can see them.
Oh my god.
Yes. What is this? Everybody should just learn Esperanto.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, true, oxymoron, true. All right, guys, we're gonna end it here. We're already hitting the 2-hour mark. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us, and this was a fun conversation as usual. Yeah. And thank you for your great questions. By the way, oxymoron, your questions were really good too. Also, Asian American, your questions are funny, so I know I make fun of them, but they're pretty good. So keep them coming. All right, guys, bye. Mwah. Oh, like and subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description. Get for our sexy blasphemous art and my book, Why There's No God, for free if you subscribe to our newsletter. So don't forget, newsletter, subscribe now. Bye.